What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Lions Gaming TCG. For those of you that don't know me, it's Brad. I'm T minus 2. I went to a regional on the weekend, Spain regional in Seville, and decided to take Arinsu. Wanted to do a deck profile because I don't think there's any deck profiles currently out of this deck, really, from a competitive scene. Lots of things to do with locals and stuff. But I wanted to do a deck profile because I think this deck is absolutely broken. I think it can be good in the right hands, and it's super aggressive, and it suits the playstyles of people that play aggressively. Anyone that plays black decks and stuff like that. Plus the artwork is beautiful as well. Went with some friends and the team over to Spain for the regional. Firstly, I've got to say, Victory Road did a great job of hosting the event, especially from a Dragon Ball Master standpoint. There wasn't any issues whatsoever. They did a fantastic job. The event was very smooth. There was no delays. Deck checks were pretty swift to give us a little chance of opportunity for top cut, which was fantastic. So massive credit to them, Victory Road. So this is my third place deck profile. I was undefeated in Swiss, so I went XO in Swiss, 6 rounds. And then we went into a top 8 top cut, and I made it. I got third place. We get losing my top 4 round against a fellow brother, Italian friend, and teammate Giovanni Castaman. I'll start off with the leader. We'll go through the deck. It might be quite long, this video, because I want to just go into kind of a bit of depth of the choices and how the deck kind of functions, basically, and go through tech choices and side options and why. So we'll start off with the leader. So Arinsu, she's blue leader from the latest set. She's got an auto on swing, draw a card. She's got an activate main that you discard a card. It could be any card. It's not color locked or anything like that. So if you've got quoits or anything that you've sided in, it's perfect. There's a perfect discard. Take up to 1 life and then do a top 3 search, or up to the top 3 cards, and grab any blue demon realm, which is absolutely amazing because that grabs any demon realm for the deck, including those that run the secret rare, the mini Goku Daima, if they chose to. I don't believe that's correct, however. Which is fantastic because you awaken, you untap 2 energy, but you awaken at 5 or less life, and that's the only way to awaken. So being able to get value off of your leader's front side going first is absolutely phenomenal, and it's needed for the deck. Once you awaken, you untap 2 energy, so that shows the aggression. I just want to highlight how nice the artwork is. So on her backside, this is where it gets really funky, and not many people know what the leader does. She doesn't draw on this side, so you do need to be mindful of that. She's got an auto. If you've got 4 or less energy, you get to untap 1 once per turn, untapping energy the first time you play a blue demon realm. So in theory, you're playing with like an extra energy every turn up until you hit over 4 energy if you choose to charge past 4. Once you charge to 5 or more, then you don't have that effect anymore. She's got an activate main / battle, which is what's really good about the deck. So what you can do is you can discard a card from hand, and you bounce a cost of 3 from your board to your hand. It's got to be Demon Realm. So the cost to activate the effect is discard a card and bounce a 3-drop Demon Realm that's blue to your hand, and then that allows you to free play a 6-drop Margin Coup or Margin Do from your drop into your battle area. We'll go into them cards when we go through it, but effectively they draw you 1 card on play. They come in with their skills. So you break even with her skill to discard 1, bounce a 3-drop to hand, so that breaks even, and then you +1 from the free player, the 6-drop. And that's where your draw engine comes in on this side, and you can do that on both turns, both your turn and your opponent's turn. And it's activate main / battle, which is cracked. I don't think they realise how good the value would be from that effect alone. And yeah, she's a 15k. She's just a 15k swing, or you normally tap her as the cost for swinging through certain floodgates. If you're swinging against Riposte, you can tap her because she's not going to give you any benefit. So therefore, it allows you to swing with your 20ks or your 30ks, and so on and so forth. However, against red, of course, you want to keep this up. That's the leader. I think the leader's fantastic of what it's trying to do, and hopefully you'll see kind of the rest of the deck now. But we'll go through just the core originally. So we'll go through the 3 drops. I'm going to lay them all out. So you've got your Margin Do 4-drop. You've got your Degasu. You've got nothing but the beautiful SPRs of Goasu. You've got 4 Arinsu. And then you've got 2 skillless Marbers. So the aim of the game with this deck here is it revolves around your 3 drops. You've got your 3-drop Barrier Blocker, Barrier Revenge, which you can pay 1 energy and play him from your drop in rest mode. So you can pay 1 to do that. Also on play, you can discard a card. If you discard, you draw a card. So it's good for filter. It's never a dead card, and it helps you to then stack up more cards into your drop to cycle through your deck more if you need to, especially if you're behind a floodgate and you've got energy spare, or turn 1 if you really wanted to. Degasu is a turn 2 play going first, in theory. So his energy costs 3, 15k. Pay 1, activate battle. So a lot of thing with the deck is a lot of things are battle tricks, which is what's great about the deck. And it's so interactive. Pay 1, activate battle. You can play this from your drop when I'm on 2 or more energy. And it also allows me to free combo a 5k blue card from the drop. But its skills negated for the turn as well. So it helps you to force and generate Z energy, which can then extend you into plays from your Z deck, which is quite crucial. I've got that as a 2-off. And he's just a 15k blocker with Deflect. He does have a permanent, however, that if he's removed from the battle area, he's removed from the game when he's played by his skills. This card is one of the MVPs of the deck. I think this card is absolutely fantastic, hence why I had to buy the nice art. It's a 3-drop, 20k. You play it when your opponent's on 2 or more energy. It's not leader locked or color locked as such. It is just pay 1 blue. Pay 1 blue energy, play him from your hand. Deflect 20k when your opponent's on 2 or more. Auto on play, you can free play a 3-drop blue demon realm from your drop with its non-keyword skills negated for the game. So any activate battle tricks, autos, anything like that, you're not getting any of that. However, anything that you are bringing in is going to keep the red keywords at the top. So there's a good combination that you can do with this, which can bring in your blocker with Deflect. It will eliminate the permanent and the activate battle and everything, which means you can choose to recycle this back to your hand if you want to, pitch it from leader skill to go back into the drop, pay 1 to free play this back out. Not free play, pay 1 to bring it back out, and then combo. It is limit 1, however, so you do need to be careful when you do that. Or you can pay 1 for this to bring out free play your 3-drop your Barrier Revenge guy, and there's a cool little mechanic that we'll go into. But you pay 1, play this. This will free play your Margin Do, and it's got Barrier and Revenge, so it'll keep Barrier and Revenge, and it will lose everything else, which is fine because you just want it there for what we go into very shortly when it comes down to the 6-drop engine. 30k skillless. What's not to love about 30k skillless? You can pay 1 off the Goma, and you can free play your 30k if you wanted to extend into just being aggressive with 30ks. And then you've got another card that's absolutely broken for the deck, which is the MVP, which is why they've given it Deflect and Barrier. So you've got your 3-drop SR, 15k, Dr Arinsu. Again, she's not locked to a leader. She's just locked to pay 2 blue. This is what I love about this set. Everything seems to be either generically locked to a color, i.e. like yellow or blue, or you can pay things like this and you can put them into other decks that you abuse that color energy, which I think is really good. So you pay 2 blue, you draw a card, and you take up to 1 life and you play her from your hand. So you'll see that these 2 are played from hand, everything else is played from the drop. She's got an activate battle, which is very good paired up with certain sequences. You can choose a 3-drop or less. So she chooses a 3-drop or less, activate battle, restand it, limit 1, and give it 5k for the battle. It's a good thing to give it for the battle, because if that's for the turn, I think that would be too much for this deck, for any other opponent that you're going against. It just gives too much value. So she can give it to herself, she can give it to a 30k, you could swing 30k. You've got the 3 Arinsu here, you could activate battle, restand, give it 5. That's a 35 first swing, and then, oh look, you can swing again and make it 30 again the second swing. You can make this a dual attacker, you can make herself a dual attacker. You could either make her this a dual attacker, or defensively, you could make this a dual block if you keep it alive. So you could block the first, like leader swings on your opponent's turn. You've got this in play, you can block. They say no combo. Yeah, Arinsu, activate battle, restand, give him 5 to the battle. Oh, he's a 20k, and then he's there to block again. So there's lots of very good kind of sequences that you can do with mix and match for the deck. That's not even including the main card in the Z deck as well, which is absolutely phenomenal. This King Goma can play any of these cards when it's played for 1. So if you feel like you're in a sticky situation where your hand's too low or you've got anything too valuable in hand that you don't want to sack off straight away, well, what you can do is you can just pitch her from the leader skill or any other skill that discards. Pitch her, because what you can do is you can pay 1 to play him and recycle her back from the drop. Yes, she's got nothing else, but she keeps the deflecting barrier, so she's going to stick the turn she's played, and then do leader skill to discard another card to then bounce her back to hand, and then you've got her back again to recycle next turn. All of these cards, when played, if they're the first Demon Realm card played on either turn, your leader's going to get the energy back for it. So if you had one of these already on board and you just wanted to cycle a 6-drop, which we'll go into in a minute, then you can do it all for free, which gives you an energy. So then that gives you defense, or gives you energy to then play more, two extra bodies every turn, and just be even further aggressive on the turn after. Personally, I like to recycle the Goma, because he can only be played from hand unless he plays himself from the drop when there's a second copy in there. So personally for me, I like to recycle this because then it just allows me to pay 1 every single turn on both turns, activate battle, to free play another 3-drop from the drop, and it just builds value from then on out. That's just how I play it, and it worked very well for me on the day. And the value it gives is absolutely amazing. But that's the 3-drop engine. If we can now go into the 6-drops. So I run 4 of Margin Coup and only 2 of Margin Do. Both 20Ks, both have no keywords. One's got an auto on play, they've both got autos on play, and then it's got other effects as well. So if we talk about Margin Coup first, there's a reason why I've gone with a 4-2 split, because you want to make sure you see them every single turn without foul. Against green and yellow, you only need to see 1, and you can just keep that loop going on over and over and over and over, including red as well. But against black and blue, you've got to be a bit smarter with your plays, because where they're able to bottom deck and warp them out of play, you do need to be careful of that, because you want to make sure you see them turn after turn after turn, on both players' turns. So if you don't sequence right, or you miss sequence and you leave 1 on board for your opponent to come in and warp it or bottom deck it, then if you haven't got another one there, the deck doesn't draw a lot. So you've got to be careful, and you're going to wait for the opportunity to see another one, which is probably going to be your main offensive or defensive piece, the fact you do it for free. So in order for you to play these cards, you do it from leader skill. So like I said before at the beginning, you'll discard a card from leader, activate main/battle, you'll bounce a 3-drop blue Demon Realm to your hand from the board, and then you get to free play either one of these 2 from the drop, with and that comes in with their skills. So Margin Do, when it's played, auto draw 1. So that's where the +1 comes from on both turns. And then he's also got an auto that on attack, he can bounce an opponent's battle card to hand. So in theory, that's not great, because you don't want your opponent recycling resources back into their hand. However, use this to target Z battle cards. Just do that. Or if they're tapped out and you're pushing for game and it's a floodgate, a sticky blocker, or anything like that, just use this, play this one to swing, bounce the blocker, so it's off the board, and then you can push for game that way. Or target into like Red Vegeta. This is a good card into Red Vegeta, to remove the Gogeta 6-drop, as long as they've used the auto on something else already. Otherwise, if they haven't, then it's not worth playing this at all. There is another way you can extend to try and clear the Gogeta, so you still get value, but it might be quite expensive. But it's the way to deal with the 6-drop, so you don't lose too much at the same time. So that's more your offensive piece, and this is your defensive piece. This card is absolutely broken for the deck. It's the MVP in another sense. Again, when his auto's played from the leader skill, he draws you 1, exactly the same one there. But however, this has got an activate battle. During your opponent's turn, you can redirect an attack once per turn. What's absolutely beautiful about this is it is once per turn, not limit 1. So if you played this on your turn when you're attacking and you've left it there, you can leave it there to be defensive and do an activate battle. You can either let it die or force your opponent to respect it. But then you can just, as long as you've got a second copy or you let it die, if you've got a second copy, you can just go ahead and redirect again. You just do leader skill, pitch 1, bounce a 3, cost a hand, free playlist from the drop, draw a card, activate battle, redirect, whether it be into himself or to anything else on your board. I think that just gives so much value. It's absolutely phenomenal. You do need to remember, though, that it is only redirected to battle cards. I'm not sure if I've seen anyone so far do it where they redirect it to leader to try and help them awaken, or self-awaken against mill decks that want to stall you out for game, or if anyone tries to redirect into a unison. You got to be careful of that. You can only redirect into battle cards. I've gone with the 4-2 split because I feel like this one gives me value all the time when I play it. This one, not so much. This one I tend to play more if I'm in a pinch and I haven't seen this 6-drop ultimately, but that's just my preference. You need to run at least 6. There is theory to run more and run a play set of each because you need to see them every single turn from turn 2. But a split of 6 worked well for me. I'm running a deck at 51 cards, so I'm likely to see them every single time from turn 2, especially with your leader cycle twice on its front side, awakening, and so on and so forth. So that's the main part of the engine for the deck. I think it's extremely strong. It's extremely aggressive. It can put on good defense as well. But that's what I would say about the deck. So now we'll go into some tech choices as such. I decided to run 2 Trunks Emotional Blow, 3 Broly, and 2 SGR in the main. The one thing the deck struggles with a lot of is removal. As you saw from the beginning part, there's only one card that has any form of removal, and that's the 6-drop that bounces to hand, which you don't want to rely on. So this is where your tech choices come in, and you can tweak the list and do whatever you can to suit your play style. If you want to play aggressive, if you want to play a bit more mid-range, you play how you seem fit. However, my personal opinion, granted it's only my opinion, I think the deck's played best when you're being aggressive. You're tapping out, you're pushing for game turn 3 ideally, and you're putting on so much pressure that your opponent doesn't have much to clap you back with. Therefore, that's where your defense is key. Yes, there's some decks that are very stubborn and very hard to do. But I think most of the weekend I finished most of my games around turn 4. There was the odd game once or twice where, of course, there went to time. But that was against decks that are a little bit slower, a little bit harder to kind of push through. So yeah, these are my removal pieces. Trunks for 1 energy, as long as you have an 8 cost on board or a battle card with 30k in play. You can pay 1 to play it if your opponent's on 3 or more. Swing, it gets through indestructible, gets through barrier, and that's your barrier removal piece as well, but it bottom decks it. You've got your Broly. I think this Broly is undervalued. In my original testing, I had this as a 2 of. I was playing the Oobs, which I think Oobs are great, but everyone tries to play around Oob. You can't play around Broly. It's for 2 energy, just play it on straight off the bat. Swing a 35k beat stick, and if your opponent's got 3 or more energy, well, even before that, you can do its activate main regardless to bottom deck something on their board. That's anything. Doesn't get through barrier, unfortunately. But if your opponent's on 3 or more energy, he then restands and gets double. So he can effectively be a dual attacker from your opponent's 3 energy or more. And if they leave this on the board for longer than the turn it's been played, i.e. going into your opponent's turn, then that's just accumulating so much value. What's cute about this as well is the activate main for 2 energy to play him is limit 1. However, you can pay 1 blue so if you had a second copy in hand, just pay 1 extra blue to EX evolve a second copy directly on top. That's limit 1 itself as well. However, the activate main to restand and bottom deck, well, bottom deck first and then restand if your opponent's on 3 or more, is once per turn. So you could, in theory, make the first one a dual attacker and then swing a second copy as another double strike 35. So that's 3 35k swings, potentially, as long as your opponent's on the right conditions for you to be able to do that. And it's very hard to interrupt in respect of counterplaying it because it's an 8 cost 35k. Not many cards in both windows can remove that. So that's absolutely beautiful. There is an argument that you could run that as a 4 of just to make sure you see it every turn from turn 3, because on turn 3, with the fact that your leader gets an energy back for playing a demon realm, and the amount of free play that it does, and what you can generate with the Goma 3-drop, there is probably a good way that you could just spam this out also from turn 3 every single turn to put big pressure on, as well as leader skill to then do its free plays. However, that required testing. And then SGR, it was more in there just to go against the decks that are more low to the ground with the dual attackers and stuff like Red Vegeta with its 4-drop dual attacker that minus its 15 on play, the Goku. Not the unlimited potential as much, unless you peel off Shumai or something mid battle. Against Nuova with the 4-drop, Goku Nuova. It's just the cheeky cards like that can put on cheap pressure just to stop them swinging more than once so they don't get full value from it, and then I can interrupt plays, especially into Nuova, where you can try and interrupt them playing the 8-drop if they're not smart enough to go into it straight away. I want to showcase this part of the package. So I did this. So I went with a 2-2 split of the androids teaming up and the Pansy. So everyone knows probably by now the Pansy, she's a deflect, 19k, energy cost of 2. You pay 2 to play her. You can play her on your turn, or you can pay 2 to use her as a negate. But she's got an auto on play, which gives you one of 2 effects. You can either draw a card, or you can free play a unison, that's a specified cost of 2 from your deck or your hand, and play it with 1 marker on it. And she's got a permanent also that while she's in play, the unison's got protection against barrier. This combo, personally, I like going first. If I'm not going first, I don't tend to play it so much. I tend to charge these and hold this as a negate if I need it desperately. Because ultimately she's a demon realm, so if she's the first card I play, she's going to let me untap with my leader skill. So she's effectively a 1-cost negate, which lets me draw a card, which isn't bad. That's quite good. Or she lets me play this. There's a cool play line going first that you can play the SR Arinsu, take yourself down to 5, swing leader, untap, awaken and untap, and then you'll play this. You'll play this for 2 to free play your unison. Your leader skill will proc where you get to untap an energy, and then this is there to help your Z energy, whether it be against red or just in general. It's just so aggressive going first, in my opinion, because it's going to make one of these next swings an extra 5k combos worth for nothing, which then sets up the Z battle card we'll go into after. There is different unisons that you can try. I've seen some people trying out the hit just because it helps with hand size. Personally, I don't like it. I think it's good into only one deck. I only think it's good into Red Vegeta, just for late game to be able to flip over the leader and turn off their super combos and everything like that, and they can no longer do anything. So I think that's really good. Besides that, I think this is one of the better unisons to use. I think it's one of my favorite ones. There is a niche one that I want to try, which I think could be even more aggressive, but testing will tell me that over time. But then so far, from up until now, that's been the best unison in my opinion. That seems to work very well, and it just helps you to generate the Z, so you don't need to overextend or anything like that, which I think is fantastic. Secret of choice, Beast Gohan. There's lots of arguments for lots of different ones. You can run the Daima Goku, which is effectively for 3 energy in the deck because you untap 1 from leader, so you'll play it on turn 4, or you can play it. You play it turn 4, but it's for 3 energy instead. Get all the effects that it does, board wipe, and not including unisons. But if you're playing something like that can board wipe, why wouldn't you play Beast Gohan, which does unisons as well and can bottom deck alive? Granted, you lose 2 cards from hand, and including itself 3. But this wins games on the spot if you need it. I will say, I think across all of the rounds and all of the games that I played this twice because I think I saw it 3 times. Across the 10 games, I think it was 10, 11 games that I played today. I only ever played it twice. One of them I played it and it won me the game on the spot because they were on 1 life. Another time was to help me stabilize through Daimaku, because they had the 2 unisons, they had 2 pansies, something else. I think it was a prospect in play. I just needed to restabilize and push through that turn. Not necessarily for game, but push enough to put enough pressure where they couldn't do all their free stuff with the unisons and what have you, and interrupt my plays. But what's not to love about Beast? I've seen some lists run Hatch. I think Hatch is also very good because there is a very big weakness to this deck, and that's Coits. But there is ways to play around it, or you just be smarter with your plays when you do get Coits. But I think, yeah, why wouldn't you run Beast? There is an argument for another secret rare that I don't want to mention because I want to test it out first and see if it does give me the value that I'm hoping or theory crafting as such. And if it is, then that would be what would come in placement of. Again, as long as you see it. But there's 2 weaknesses to this deck. One weakness is Coits. The second weakness is it doesn't draw a lot. It cycles, but it doesn't draw a lot, so you don't see a lot of new cards. So unless you're running cards at 3s and 4s, you're going to struggle to see the 1s and 2s. Hence why Secret Rare, you don't play it every game like other decks that are so hyper consistent as such. So that could be an argument for why you could run the Daimaku SCR just because it's searchable off leader's front side too. I'm just not a fan of it personally. Super combos of choice: 3 Glorio, 1 Kefla. Again, the weakness or the things that I noticed from playing the deck was the lack of removal. It had, especially like cheap removal. So the idea was just to chuck in 1. I was thinking of putting up to 2, but it turns out I only owned 1 card and I left it too late to make any additional changes. So when I reached out to friends and teammates that went to the regional 2, it was too late. So good thing I took it as 1 because I saw it when I needed to see it most games, and it did so much. It's the surprise factor against Shadow Dragons, like Nuova, for example. When they swing with the 8-drop or swing with not the 4-drop, sorry, just the 8-drop, and they don't do the EX Evolt skill or the restand skill with leader, or if they don't pop something in rest mode to be able to get the restand. This is there to just be like, yeah, I'll just combo this, take the damage if I need to, or combo up, and then just remove it straight away. So you don't have to deal with 3 swings, which I think is big value. But this also comes into a lot of other decks. It can disrupt the yellow and green decks that have access to Successor. It can also interrupt, anything really. I just think this card was just a cheeky little inclusion that people wouldn't be expecting, and the value that it gives me, as even at high life, as just the 10k that I need to be able to get out something stubborn. I think it worked really well, and I saw it most of my games too. There was probably only 1 or 2 games I didn't see it, but I saw the others, which was the main thing. And then we have our defensive package. So we've got battle card negates first. Is 4 defending friends, but it turns out for some reason I only own 3, so I had to borrow friends on the day. And 4 bombers. I went with this as my optional floodgate for the deck. Again, it's blue. Everything blue is battle card floodgates, and I never play blue. So this was very new and unique to me because I'm so used to playing green and red and just surviving late game and having big hand size to kind of show for it. So it definitely took a lot for me to kind of learn the deck and understand how to play it, as well as trying to maximize resource both offensively and defensively. And I think I did that. But it was very good. But this is one of the reasons why Coits hurts this deck so much, and blue in general, even Daimaku, is because of cards like this. The Pansy card, if you played that defensively, all of the battle tricks are all 20Ks unless you play a skillless 30K. So you're just warping cards galore. Everyone knows defending friends. You just your opponent bottom decks for every battle card swing. If I've got a Z battle card in play at the time that it's been played, or 3Z. And the Bulma, she's cute. She's either just a tap 1 cantrip for top 5 for any demon realm that's blue, or you can use it as a negate and have a negate cantrip, which is perfect, especially into decks that needs the energy in order for them to awaken by playing out cards from the Z deck. If I've gone first, which is what I want to do ideally, and I'm against decks like Namaku, to be fair, even Great Saiyaman, you can slow them down a bit by doing it too. There's just so many decks that can you just get so much benefit just from doing negating the swing, especially if they if they haven't got, like, because if it's Namaku, for example, they've got to play 2Z, 2 energy to be able to play out the unison. And you're like, well, now, yeah, you can play a cantrip, but you still can't swing the cantrip to then establish the unison after unless they've gone second. And burn marker, which I think is a fair trade if you force them to burn marker that early, and then you're just gaining momentum for the rest of the game. They're playing with one less that they could worry about, which could get them out of a sticky situation. And of course, there's many other decks that it hits. So yeah, the Bulma is just great because she grabs any blue demon realm, so that grabs any piece for the deck that's needed to kind of push the game moving forward. And then extra card negates. 4D magic, I think, is a must because, especially with Quoits being so much of a problem, just being able to have access to this to get your energy back, because I don't run sensory beams. I tested sensory beams, I didn't like it personally. It can become clunky at times with the extra cards in hand, whereas I can use this for my energy untap. Yeah, sure, if they've got the anti-D magic hate and stuff like that, it's fine. We play around it. We don't spend as much energy as we would normally. Or you deal with it by siding in cards to deal with it, or dealing with it through your main board, i.e. the trunks. And then lastly, this was due to a friend after talking to him about my list originally, and when I was making tweaks and changes to try and make it better. Ollie, this is a shout out to you, brother. Max power. I see some lists, people run it in Tapion. Again, it helps with the Quoits problem, just being able to recycle this every turn. Negate, warp 4 cards from your drop to be able to bring it back to your hand and use it next turn because you can't use it again. What's great about that is I'm not going to warp my 3 drops from the drop unless I've got multiple copies of them, or depending on what color I'm against. If I'm against green and yellow, I can afford to warp some of my pieces in the drop because I will see them again already, because the ones on board will go back there. But ideally, I'll just use this to warp cards like Defending Friends from the drop, the Bomber Negate, any other extra cards that are in a drop too, just to make sure that I get rid of them, because I want to ideally keep all the other cards in there. But that was a good little inclusion, and that was a recommendation from Ollie, which it only came up. I think I only saw it once. Again, it comes down to the deck not drawing much, so I only saw it once. But I still think just having it there was nice when I did see it. I saw it against, and I used it against Great Saiyaman, and it worked really well at that point. I'm pretty sure I was under Quoits at that point, and that was the reason why I did it. But it also was there to help me survive the turn before I could then try and hit back on the clapback. But then time was called. So that's the main board, 51 cards. I don't personally agree or think you can run it more. I think, sure, I know people have been. I saw the American guys run it at 54, 55, what was it, 55, 53, and 52. I just think that's too much. Unless you're running everything as 4 robs to make sure you see it, I just don't think you will. Because again, like I said, I saw Secret Rare across 11 games. I saw Secret Rare twice. I think I saw it a third time, but that was at the end of the game, but I closed it out without the need to use it, sort of thing. So it's kind of like the risk you run with the one-offs and stuff, which is why I don't think you'll see them just because of the draw engine. However, it cycles so much, and as long as you see 1 or 2 key pieces, your loop's going for days, which is fantastic. I've had great fun playing this deck. This is definitely something I'm going to work on more and more, and hope it continues to give me any form of success, just because I think the deck is so fun. I'm all about decks that are highly interactive, that do a lot of stuff on battle tricks and things like that. It's just a lot to remember, so you do need to remember to get your reps in to make sure you don't miss out on anything. Z deck. Everyone knows Dabura. Everyone knows Android. 1 cell. 4 of the main Z battle card of the deck. Z deck is the Goma, 1 Beerus, Surmounting, and Mighty Blast. The King Goma is broken. It's a good thing they made the card unique, because if they didn't, Jesus Christ, the pressure that you could put on your opponent, punishing them not only from swing, but their hand size as well. So it's the energy 3 cost with 1 Z. It's got a permanent. The cost is reduced to 1 if you have 2 or more Demon Realms in play, and then you just play it for 1. So for 1 and 1, a 20k with deflect. So it's coming down unless your opponent's got something that kills it on an auto. It's a 20k auto on attack. Your opponent bottom decks one from hand. I think this is the reason why I like the deck so much, because it's basically green in disguise with more energy, and that's why it's so good. Especially the way I play it personally. You can spam this. You can go down the aggressive route with your battle cards, the unison route. You can do anything you want. But I think how your opponent reacts to you is how you react back to them. You don't just go this every single time. If you know, i.e., if you go against TN, TN's got the Tau card that can counterplay if you've got cost is reduced for every multi-form token and TN's in play. You'd be careful with this, because if I play this for one, that they can respond with that if the conditions are met and then KO this. I've got no value. I've wasted an energy. Sure, if it's the first one I've played, I've got the energy back, but I've still wasted it and got no value, where they've got all the value. So you've got to be careful that way. I went against the Trunks Arrival. I had to play around decision made. I don't want them being able to play that down and then remove a 7 or less if I don't have a way to remove their card first, or stop it coming down. So there was lots of ways you had to play around. But this, coupled with the SR Arinsu, I think it gives you so much value. It gives you more value if you're swinging into their unisons, if they've got unison in play, and just swing this twice. Sure, you're wasting swings and not going aggressive at the leader, but you're ripping 2 cards out of their hand for nothing. And they've got like, okay, that's fine. This card into green is amazing too, just because they're spending so much resource to clear, like with dormants or with uneasons if you're against the Saiyan leaders, if you're against the Marcy Mill for Oceanus, anything like that. Just being able to poke away an extra card every single time. Their hand size is non-existent when it gets to turn 3, maybe even turn 4 at push. So yeah, absolutely love this card. And I'm glad it's got unique on it, because I think it'd be too overtuned otherwise. The way how I was playing it, where I was being reactive to what my opponent was doing, this paired with the Android is very good, because you just do the Android's activate main at the bottom, ±0. You force your opponent to bottom deck another card from hand, and then you untap an energy at the end of the turn. So against yellow, I would make sure I've got 2 Demon Realms in play to play this. This will then take away 2 cards from the hand if I pair it with the SR Arinsu. They're going to probably floodgate me, so I can't do much else outside of extending into the Z deck for the Unison route if I didn't have one already in play. I'll have 3 energy spare to be able to do it, so I'll just go straight into this and then do this activate main to bottom deck another one from hand and then swing a 20 double. It's just, the amount of work it does is fantastic, and it's definitely something that I can do going forward even more. What I like about this is the flexibility that it has. You always need a Mighty Blast. There's an argument where you can up this to 2 just to help to push through swings. The cell's there just to mop up a wide board of 5 or lesses. Some Mountains there as your consistency piece, just to make sure that you can awaken on turn 2 guaranteed every time, especially against the decks where your opponent doesn't need to swing, or if they choose not to. And if you don't see your Arinsu SR, because she is the only way outside of this to awaken guaranteed turn 2 every time, especially if your opponent hasn't swung. So that's why I had to put it in there, to make sure that I can consistently awaken every time. And every game yesterday, I awakened turn 2 every single time. There was times I extended into this because I didn't see an Arinsu, but that was probably only once I think I did that all day. Otherwise, the deck felt very consistent when I was searching out pieces. The Beerus is there really just to deal with the Gogeta 6-drop early game, because at least it's coming down and it's got barrier. So even if they responded to it, it's sticking, unless they're going to counterplay it. But by the time you're playing this, they won't have any counterplays live at that point. They won't have Beerus Ball. They won't have Begrudging, unless they're paying 2 for it, which we all know Vegeta won't have, because they would have spent 2 to play the Gogeta. So this is just there to clear that. Granted, there's 2 energy, but if I make sure I play the Arinsu first, the 3-drop Arinsu, the SR, to spend a 2 energy to awaken and then get my swings in to be able to then extend this from the Z deck. Then, of course, if I then choose to bounce the SR to hand to free play a 6 from the drop, I've got an energy back if I need to, and that's without even awakening at that time. Sorry, I need to awaken to be able to do the skill. But if I've found a way to spend any energy to kind of get the value, then I can just do the free play, get the energy back, which is perfect. What came up? So the Beerus never came up. The Cell, funny enough, never came up. However, all the Unisons did. just to help me push through yellow more than anything. And now let's go on to the side deck. Gogeta's there for energy. So we've got 2 Peel Off My Shoe, 2 Zamasu, 2 Final Hope Slash, 2 Desperate Measures, 3 Heavenly Wizard Demiglas, 2 Deborahs, and 2 Quits. So quite an even split of colour ratios there. Peel Off My Shoe was mainly in there just for the decks that run the 4-drop barrier cards, like Nuova for the 4-drop Sin, or to take off the big threats like with the big triples or the doubles. A Red Vegeta, if I saw it, Trunks Arrival, it worked quite well to try and take off the barrier off the Trunks 4-drop. Or if I wanted to use it against the Vegeta double strikers and stuff. So that's what it's in there for, and it's to help kind of make it harder for your opponent to combo, so they don't overcommit, and I'll just be like bottom deck supers and things like that, which was quite good. That came in a couple of the games today. It came in against Trunks. It came in against Nuova. And until I go through my games, I can't remember what else I sided. I didn't face red today, so there's a master who never came in at all. However, I did think about bringing it in for Trunks Arrival, but I decided to opt against it. I didn't want to bring in too much because it can affect the consistency of the deck. So I decided to leave this out, especially with the Trunks Arrival match and stuff and blue. I just opted down the Quoits route instead. The Final Hope Slash is purely there just for Panzino. We was expecting Panzino because it seemed to be the best black deck at the minute of the format, and that continues to this day. And there wasn't many Panzinos, to be fair. There was a couple, but not too many. And there was a couple that topped. But that's purely in there to deal with the 2-drop, because that 2-drop's a menace. I don't have to deal with that, and I'd rather do it for free rather than overextend and spend too much resource. Because ultimately, that's the aim of the game, isn't it? It's resource management, and I feel like that would give me what's necessary to help. And the free untap's cute as well, as long as they don't have the Trunks changing history of time or whatever the card's called, the D-Magic Hate, because that'll also affect that, because the order of the auto is that you choose to untap up to 1 energy first, then you get the removal, which is, yes, sure, it bounces to hand, but that's why you target the Z-Bat. Yeah, so the thing I struggled with was with Decisive Strike. It made it harder for me to kind of made it that little bit harder. So I decided to go down the route of Desperate Measures, because it's very synergistic with the deck. It's able to give you what you need, where you can do a bounce or 2 or less back to hand, which is fine, because I feel like what can happen is they're tapping the decks that are tapping out for floodgates, whether it be red, yellow, blue, Oceanus, decks like that. They all tap out to play their floodgates. So I don't mind bouncing it back to the hand. Sure, I need to play against it next turn, but this might have been the card I needed to go ahead and just bounce it back to hand, just to make sure that I can push through for game that turn. But what's cool about this as well is that when you do the counter play, you get to bounce one of your own 3 or lesses back to hand, and of course the whole deck is 3 or less ultimately. So I can bounce back my negates, my Pansy negate, my Bowman negate to set me up defensively, so on and so forth. So I think, and I'll bounce any of the key pieces like the Arinsu, the Goma battle card. So that has beautiful synergy with the deck, that's for sure. Quoits, we don't need to go about Quoits, but that came in quite a few times today. It came in against Trunks Arrival, Great Saiyaman, my top 8 match against Daimaku. Pretty sure it came in more as well. But until I go into double check my matches, I can't remember. Dabura's there. I didn't bring this in at all today. I had it in there for green. I played against green, but they weren't the heavy hand control green decks, so I didn't bother siding it in. Again, I focused on trying to minimise the amount of cards I brought in, so I didn't affect consistency too much. And it was so far, it felt like it was the right decision. However, you'd bring them in against the typical green decks. It's probably worth bringing this in against decks like Grey Saiyaman and Nuova as well, just because you have a small hand size, they extend into the successor 8 drop quite a lot. So this, yeah, I think you'd need this for that. It wasn't something I decided to side in, but when Nuova does it, it does hurt quite a bit. And then lastly, Heavenly Wizard Demigra. Again, it's all about resource management. I wanted to focus on bringing things in that would give me value without the need to spend anything to do it. Yeah, sure, I don't mind losing a card from hand if it means I can keep my energy open for defense or attacking. And that's what this card does. Gets rid of something, ignoring barrier, 30k or more when your opponent's on 3 or less energy. I think the only time I brought this in twice. I brought this in against Great Saiyaman, just to deal with the 8 drop, because that card is just a menace when it's got barrier on turn 2 going forward. And this deck struggles with barrier, obviously. So being able to do this for free and clear it, I think it's absolutely fucking diamond. The only other time I brought this in was against Gamma, because they're on 3 energy all the time. So this is always going to be live. Doesn't matter when I draw it. And it's just there to deal with the 9 drop or the 8 drop cell max. That's all it's there to deal with, nothing else. And again, that helps so much, so I don't have to worry about stressing about trying to find ways to deal with the 8 drop cell max or the 9 drop. So yeah, that's the deck. I absolutely love the deck. I'm going to continue playing the deck. I'm hoping to continue doing well with the deck. Granted, there is ways for people to deal with it. And in my opinion, the main way to deal with it is quoits. It is the way because it slows down the pressure. But if I go into the games that I played, because I definitely remember this first game, that's for sure. So round one was against, where are we? Here we go. Yeah, round one was against TN. It was against the new TN reboot. Yeah, that's a deck that's aggressive. I went second in this match because I lost the dice roll. My opponent went first, which was probably the right decision for him because he's able to be just as aggressive as I am with all his tokens when I'm a 10k leader. Or if he chooses to pop the extra card that gives him 5k to all of his tokens or to all of his cards. Yeah, that deck, just being able to recycle the tokens every turn, or even when you remove a token from the area, when you've got the TN on board, that free plays another one. The deck is crazy. I can see why so many people like it. That's a super close game. He did know what my deck did because he didn't ask that many questions. And when I went to ask him to read cards, he knew what he was doing or he knew what the deck did. I coached him after he coached me. Sorry. I coached him. No, he coached me first. Yeah, because I only brought in Coits for this match. I remember he coached me and he was pushing for game. I was on 3 life from what I can remember, and he was pushing with all of his TNs. And I remember he played the SR 6 drop, the dual attacker blocker, and he popped the extra card to give it double. And then I remember him swinging because he was able to do it for free off of the skill of one of the TNs, I think it was. Or it was the other way around because I remember on the 6 drop TN, he buffed it up to 55k, I think it was, or 60k, to try and push through a double strike crit because he put the extra card, the Kai Council, I think it is, or Key Cancel, put that on top and buffed it up to like 50, like a 60, 65k. So when he did that, he tapped out. He tapped out by doing that because he was trying to push. And but I hadn't done my leader skill yet, so I don't know if he knew or didn't know or wasn't expecting it. But I was able to do my loop. I was able to kind of do leader skill to reestablish the 6 drop, and I managed to play the Goma to free play out my barrier revenge guy, and then I did the redirect of the 6 drop into the barrier, and he died in return. I remember this game because I had a Kefla super combo in hand as well. But I chose, but I couldn't do it because it's dual attack. It's going to reach down before I get a chance to do my auto. So I had to make sure that was the only way for me to do it without him interrupting. and he didn't have any way to interrupt the play line when I played the 6 drop, because he didn't have a unison in place and no charismatic was coming, so I didn't have to worry about that. And he couldn't respond with the towel because he was tapped out anyways. Plus it's a 6 cost. But yeah, that was a very, very tough match. And where he went all in, he had 3 cards left in hand. He was 4 on 4 life, and I just killed him on the clapback. I put him under quoits. Yeah, sure, he played his own 6 drop again defensively, but I had enough of a board state to be able to clear his pieces as well as push the game. And yeah, I remember, but when he put me under quoits, I played through it. I had a 10-card hand size, and I warped 6 cards. I did that to make sure that I got all the value possible out of his swing, where he was tempted to dump, thinking he could push the game because I'm under quoits. Well, that's how it's felt, anyways. But yeah, I sacrificed warping 6 to make sure I played all my pieces, so I had all my pieces there ready to go to push back outside of the 3 drop he killed because of the barrier revenge. But that guy's name was Arincheta. I think I said his name right. I might be completely butchering it, but yeah, pleasure. Thank you for the game. Round 2 was against one of the Tab, one of the Spanish team players. I think it's pronounced Arontone. I might be completely wrong. Again, might be butchering it. But he was on Great Saiyan Man, and that game was super close because it went to time on time, and neither one of us knew it was time on time. I think we were having such a good time, laughing, joking, and playing that I didn't hear time being called. There was an issue with the timer where when it got to 35, it would just stop. It wouldn't roll on the overtime, so we just didn't know. We just had to wait for the judge. And that was unfortunate because I was on 2 life, he was on 1. Time is called, so I win. But then we wanted to see if we could play it out by looking at what he had in hand to try and push through. And we both agreed I'd still win because I had, I think I had max power in hand, and I think it was a D magic, which was the 2 swings that he had left that he could have done, which he couldn't do anything else. So yeah, he accepted that he couldn't push through anyways. But yeah, he was a really nice guy, really good player as well. You could see his thought process. And that was the game that I sided in Heavenly Wizards, and I sided 3, and I didn't see a single one of them. So, but I was fortunate enough to see my other pieces. I saw my trunks and stuff, so I was able to clear his board. However, he didn't see the barrier Gohan until I think turn 4. So I was able to play my Broly and just clear it that way after just forcing the auto on the 8 drop by playing for my drop, just to force the blanking skill, because I don't care if my cards are blank that I don't need, because I can bounce it back to hand to get the skills back when I replay them next time. So that was kind of the loop that I had when I played against it. I just needed to force through against the floodgates like Riposte and Nimbus, etc. Round 3 was against Trunks Arrival. That was a very tough matchup. I went first. I was able to put him to 3 life, I think, turn 2. He whiffed on his second energy that he charged, because he ended up having to charge a green because he didn't see another multicolor that he could charge. Well, that's how it seemed to me, because he had to charge a mono green. So that delayed his awakening a bit more, forced him to awaken defensively. And then he had to charge in energy exhaust on turn 3, so he was playing with 1 less energy turn 3 as well. But he played a lot defensive then, was able to get the unison out. He could do his free plays and stuff defensively then as well. The ones with the trunks and stuff. But I was just able to just monitor his board whilst with like SGR for the Vegeta with the Pilaf Shumai, take the barrier and that off. But he was playing smart. When I did take the barrier off, he decided not to swing any further in case I had another answer to it. And that was Manja from Italy, a very, very good player. He tops regularly in almost every regional in Italy, and he does travel around as well. A very humble guy, very nice guy, and I'm proud to now call him a friend. But he performed very well on the day. He unfortunately just missed out on topping. But his tiebreakers and his pairings were very difficult. Like the players he was up against were like they were like the best. So it's kind of, you can sort of see why. But yeah, I'm a massive lover of Trunks Arrival too, and it's so close to being the main green deck. It's just missing one more thing. So it was great to play against him and share the stage. Round 4, again, this one was against Goulamir. I might have said it completely wrong. French guy. Very nice guy. It's probably I have met him before, but we both remember the faces but couldn't remember the names. He was playing Belmod, but he was playing a very spicy version of White Blue. Basically, just having access to sensu beans, peel off my shoes, and the 5-drop Great Priest, which lets you bounce 2 gods back to hand if you pay a blue and play him. But it's the only version you can only play it once, sort of thing. Yeah, that was good because you're able to recycle certain pieces that you want that you've got in hidden mode, or that you can flip back to be able to grab back to your hand at least. And it's very good the way he played it. It was just 25k. He was basically yellow Broly. He was 25k based defensively every turn, and then I was dealing with blockers and cards that are stunning my cards. And the Fox is a good answer to the Goma, to stop me trying to rip away your hand. Again, this game went to time on time. But he realised that when like time on time was called, he couldn't clear the game, and he was completely dead on the clapback. He was on 1 life. And he had to pay 1 to play a cantrip to push for game with the 1-drop. I had my Z extra in play, so he couldn't do nothing. So he accepted defeat. Very, very nice guy. And it was a very close game, very fun game. Belmod's got a lot of answers to a lot of decks, which is why I think we're going to continue to see it more and more. And the later the game goes, the more in favour it is of Belmod. It just gives more energy and more things it can do. But yeah, that was a great game. Round 5 was against another guy from the Spanish tab team, the Tactical Boys. Antonio, he was playing TN Reboot as well, so he'd already played one earlier on in the day. He did know what Arinsu did, but it's the first time he played against it, I think he said, whether it be the first time ever or the first time properly. And that was super close as well. He was able to kind of spam his things out. It just puts on so much aggression. I went first. I was able to put on a lot more aggression against him. I think he ended up playing his extra turn 1 and burning the marker just to make sure it was there ready to go. Of course, couldn't awake until turn 2. And yeah, he just couldn't push. He just couldn't push through, and he just died to me, just completely ripping his hand apart. It was a very close game. That's just a very rough matchup, I think, in general, even for a green deck. But it was unfortunate for him. He only saw 1 dormant, and any other copies that he didn't see them. He didn't see them when he needed to see them, but he only saw it once that I can remember, or played it once, I should say. Which I don't mind the trade into dormant. Yeah, I'm going to slow down with my swings, but the amount of cards you lose from hand, especially when I extend into the Z battle, I still feel like it's good value. And then going into the last round of Swiss, was super close. I was against Gamma, against a good friend of mine, against David. Shout out to you, dude. What was good about this game was I ended up having to play. Where are we? There we are. He was playing Gamma. What was good was we did some testing the night before because I wanted to show him what Arinsu could do, to give him a chance to kind of understand. So, like, if we did have to face, at least he knew what the deck did, or if anyone else played the deck. Turns out I was the only person that played the deck. The only person that took the deck to the event on the day. And of course, it was my luck that, as always, I pair up against good friends or teammates. And that's exactly what happened this time round again. We faced each other in Germany. He was playing Gamma, I was playing Warp Judo. It was a misplay that caused him to kind of lose that game. So yeah, he was on his redemption arc, and I was trying to make sure that I didn't let him do that. But nah, he's a very, very good player, very skilled pilot. And it showed because he was the only other undefeated on the day at the time during Swiss. So it was me and him, the only 2 undefeated. And he ended up, he just couldn't deal with the aggro from me, from Arinsu, and the hand control at the same time. And Gamma doesn't build much of a hand. He extended into the Cell Max to give him the barrier card because I can't deal with that. I sided in Heavily Wizards, didn't see it. And when I did see it, his 8-drop was no longer on board. So it was pointless. So I just discarded it. But yeah, it was just a very tough matchup for him. In my opinion, I think it's potentially a counter to Gamma based on the results of testing against it and then the outcome on the day. Granted, it was only 1, but it's still I've still yet to lose to a Gamma yet as it stands, which is weird because that deck is extremely difficult to play against. But every game is always super close. but I'm going to take that record and run with it because it's Gamma. So that was the end of Swiss. So that was 6 round undefeated of Swiss. It was the only undefeated left. So we went into top cut. It was a top 8 cut, and everyone that was in top 8 deserved to be there. Even those that made a top 16 probably deserved to be there just as much, because it was a very high level of skill on the day across all kind of areas and ranks, and where people performed and didn't perform. It was very, very difficult throughout the day. And so my first opponent was, going into top 8, was the Daimaku match, and that was Pepone. Great game. We only managed to complete. We went to 2 games. Game 1 I won. It was a mixture of he couldn't deal with the pressure, and he did. He did very well. He had plenty of negates because that's what Daimaku does. And of course, there's no side in game 1. But I was able to just push through the win through my hand control. And I played Beast Gohan. I played it on turn 4 just to stabilize, because he had 2 unisons, he had 2 pansies, he had a prospect on board. It was a lot of defensive stuff all on the board. And he had his, I think he had the 5 drop. No, he didn't, because I got rid of that. No, so he just had a lot of pressure on board. It was the 3 drop blocker. And I just ended up playing the Beast Gohan just to stabilize. I think he was on 4 life at the time, took him to 3. I pushed on through the rest of the turn, but now he hasn't got prospect. I haven't got to worry about prospect or swinging through that. I had I think I had a Broly on board as well, and I was able to close the game out the turn after, because he tried to push through for game, but I had he kept playing the 5 drop Goku that gets through barrier, and I was able just to kind of establish the redirect and get it into the barrier. Eventually, doesn't swing twice with it, which gave me so much value. And then going into game 2, he played a lot more aggressively, this time with the unisons. He was trying to push me down quick, and in return I was trying to push him down. Again, it got to time on time, and of course the result at the end of the game finishes if it's 1-0 and it's game 2. But we both agreed that I was still in a better position at the time, but it could have gone either way. It depended on what else he could have played after that, which is what I don't like about time, because you never get a chance to see the game out fully. And then finally, top 4 round was against my dear friend, my Italian brother, and my teammate, Giovanni Custerman. The guy is just annoying to play against because he's just so good. There's a reason why he's one of the best in Europe. And his record speaks loudly because of that. And of course, he's the king of Shadow Dragons, and that's exactly what he decided to turn up on the day. It was always going to be a good game between us two, because we've done lots of testing with Nuova into Arinsu, and I'm sure he's played others against that deck too, so he knew exactly what the deck did, and he knew the weakness to it, and that was not just Coits. There's another weakness, which I won't say. I'm going to keep that a secret, because I don't want everyone else to do that to me going forward. But yeah, I was the top seed, so I got to go first. I won game 1. I was just too aggressive early game, pushed him down, so I think I pushed him up to 3 life turn 2, and he couldn't establish anything. He did a couple of things that I've never seen him do before, which are legal plays, which was great, because he was playing the leader skill from hand. I was like, oh, I thought it was only from the drop when you got a ball there, but he did it with the ball there, but did it from hand. So did lots of things that caught me off guard, and was able to still establish a 4 drop sin defensively, but he had to keep his energy open to play it once the conditions were met. But I was able to close the game out. He tapped out on his turn 3 to play the triple striker. He swung and negated, and he knew it was GG's. So he scooped and went straight to game 2 to give him more time. Game 2 was a lot harder with the siding. I didn't see kind of what I needed to see. I saw all my pieces to be aggressive. That didn't stop me at all. And he managed the aggression a lot better too. I think the issue this time around was I didn't see enough of my defensive pieces, my negates more than anything, to slow him down, because I kept seeing battle card negates, but I didn't see. I think I did a floodgate. I did defending friends, and I tapped out for it, and he responded with T-blow. I hadn't done my leader skill yet, so I knew I could get an energy back, but I just couldn't keep up with the aggression that turn. So he was able to close the game out. I think that was turn 4. I think it was. Yeah, so then it went 1-1. And then, of course, now we've got 10 minutes to play a game, or was it 15 minutes in total? That's including the 10 minutes overtime. So then we had to play fast, of course. I made a sequence mistake, which I think was a massive mistake, in respect of I picked up the wrong card from leader skill, which was the card I needed to regenerate a loop. And I picked up the wrong card. and I think that would have helped me massively if I picked up the right card then. But yeah, when you're having to play quicker, mistakes have got to be made. Yeah, and it just caused. I think I just struggled. It finished 1-1, and we both had the same life. We both had 4 life. We're both trying to play quick, but he had more cards in the battle area than I did, so it was a fair win. I just personally don't like losing. I don't like. I say don't like losing. Of course I do. I don't like time rules. I don't like losing and or winning when it's time rules. I'd much rather play the game out and see where it takes us rather than having to kind of just let time rules decide that. I'm just not a fan of it. Which is why I think we need at least 5 more minutes of gameplay or an extra turn each to kind of settle the game. And we all know whoever can go the long game if it sees the pieces it needs to, anyways. So, but yeah, a massive shout out and congratulations to him. He ended up going to the final against one of the Spanish team, tab teammates, Yeli on Pandino. Unfortunately, Yeli, congratulations to you, got the win, and Gio lost, but he still got second place again at another regional. The further showcasing how good he is at the game. And a massive shout out to him. Massive shout out to the team. Massive shout out to Peter Dance, who's always wanted to test with me in absence of others and always pushing me to be better. The same with Gio, the same with Frankie. Thank you for everyone that kind of is involved in the community, that's making content, pushing the game out there. We know it's the best game out there, and everyone that plays the game, that currently enjoys the game, knows how fresh and refreshing it is to play the game right now in the current state of the game, which is fantastic. The meta is so wide open. It makes it harder for testing because you're having to test for multiple things and not just selected 3 or 4 decks. But it also makes it more creative as well. Shout out to the Spanish team, the Tactical Boys. I mean, you guys are always fantastic. Great hospitality, very, very friendly, very humbling. But a special shout out to 2 from that team, especially to me personally. First one is to David Vargas. I'm going to call you Grandpa. Every time I see the guy, he's always so welcoming, so warming. Always does this massive cheer and shout every time he sees me. Always wishes me good luck. And always takes the time out just to sit down with me and just go through some bits, talk about Dragon Ball, talk about anything, talk about life. I got a lot of respect for you, David. David Vargas. So I just wanted to say a special thank you to you. And also to you, Ivan Serrano. It's a treat. Yes, it's always nice to hear from the people that are very, very established in the game and very good at the game. They've got great reputation and success. Most of it comes from the Tactical Boys, but Ivan Serrano, especially yesterday, took all the time out to come and congratulate me, keep praising me, keep telling me that I deserve to be there, deserve to be kind of at the level that I was at on the day. And just saying thank you all the time. And yeah, he's a very warm, very humble fella. And it was very nice to hear them sort of words from people like himself and the rest of his team, for all of them to say that you deserve to be there, and things like that. So yeah, massive shout out to you, Ivan Serrano, and the rest of your boys. It's always a pleasure to see you guys, and hopefully get to see you guys in Bristol. But that's the deck profile. I'm sure there's other shout-outs I can say. David, I've already shouted you once. I'll shout you again for doing very well with not getting a lot of practice in. My locals guys over at the Alliance Heart Bookshop in Woking, massive shout out to you. And anyone else that puts up with me, that wants to test with me, play with me, and continue to help me become a better player. I love the game to bits. I ain't playing nothing else. I got nothing else to do. Keeps me out of trouble. And of course the Just Locals guys, the German guys. Bastian, you're the reason why I started playing the deck after we spoke about it. And then decided to try it. I fell in love with it instantly, started to make the list my own. And hopefully I did you proud as well, because you're the one that told me to have a look at the deck. The rest of the Just Locals crew, the German guys, and the rest of the UK community and everyone else involved, Damien from the Lookout, everyone else. Just thank you for everyone. Thank you from everyone. And a special welcome and warm feeling from me. I don't want to go into play lines as such. I think I've taken up too much of everyone's time. Drop us a like, drop us a comment. Drop me a message on Facebook. Reach out to me and the guys, and I'm happy to go over anything with the deck and the list itself, or like my thought process and how I played the deck if I haven't covered it already in this video. But peace out, and we'll see you all in Bristol.